The year is 1978. Deep in the heart of Bavaria, BMW established a small, hyper-focused division with one mandate: win at all costs. What started as a modest tuning branch quickly morphed into a juggernaut known simply as the letter M. For decades, BMW M reigned supreme across Europe's touring car championships. Their secret formula was simple: take a clean, well-balanced road car, sharpen its suspension, bolt in a high-revving inline-six, and tear through the competition. By the late 1990s, the E46 M3 was the crown jewel of this philosophy. It was refined, sharp, and possessed one of the greatest atmospheric six-cylinders ever crafted by human hands, the S54. Now, according to the purists in Munich, the inline-six was sacred. It was the heart, soul, and identity of the ultimate driving machine. But racetracks don't care about tradition. Racetracks only care about lap times. Across the Atlantic Ocean, a new battleground was calling. The American Le Mans Series, or ALMS, was fast becoming the most brutal, high-stakes sports car championship on planet Earth. BMW wanted to dominate it, but there was a massive rear-engine problem sitting in their way: Porsche. The Porsche 911 GT3R was steamrolling the GT category, leaving BMW's standard six-cylinder M3 sucking on tire smoke and rubber marbles. BMW tried tweaking the chassis, they tried stretching the aero, but the math just wasn't adding up. You can't fight an apex predator with half an arm tied behind your back. So, in a moment of sheer, unapologetic Bavarian desperation, BMW's motorsport department threw the rulebook in the trash, ignored their own corporate heritage, and made a decision that would ignite one of the most bitter, controversial wars in racing history. They decided to build a car so loud, so dominant, and so legally dubious that it would be banned from racing forever, and in doing so, become an immortal legend of pop culture. The stuffy executives in Munich lost their absolute minds and created the E46 M3 GTR. Let's rewind a little. It's the year 2000. The GT class of the American Le Mans series was absolute fireworks. You had privateer teams, factory giants, and ruthless drivers battling bumper to bumper on iconic tracks like Sebring and Road Atlanta. Porsche was comfortably sitting on the throne. Their 3.6-liter flat six was reliable, powerful, and perfectly positioned over the rear axle for killer traction out of slow corners. BMW's factory-backed team, run by Schnitzer Motorsport, brought their E46 M3 powered by the legendary inline-six. But no matter how hard drivers like Jörg Müller pushed, the M3 was down on raw horsepower on the long straights. Porsche was treating the GT class like their personal playground, and BMW was tired of playing second fiddle. BMW needed more grunt. They needed a V8. The problem? BMW didn't make a V8 M3. They didn't even make a V8 that fit cleanly into an E46 engine bay without turning the car into a front-heavy plow. To make matters worse, the GT rules stated that any race engine used had to be derived from an engine available in a production road car sold to the public. Did BMW take a slow, methodical approach and wait 3 years to design a production V8 car? Absolutely not. Like my old mechanic used to say, if the front door is locked, you break the side window and pretend you owned the house all along. In a matter of months, BMW Motorsport secretly engineered a completely bespoke, race-only power plant, the P60B40. This wasn't some heavy truck engine snatched from an X5 SUV. This was a purebred, naturally aspirated 4.0-liter dry-sump V8 built specifically to rip the heads off Porsches. It featured a compact 90-degree block, a flat plane crankshaft that allowed it to rev like a sport bike, and put out a roaring 445 horsepower in race trim. It hummed with an unsettling, high-pitched metallic scream, a sound completely alien to anyone expecting the deep rumble of an American V8 or the smooth song of a BMW inline-six. To fit this colossal monster into the compact E46 chassis, engineers replaced almost the entire body with ultra-lightweight carbon fiber reinforced plastic. The bonnet got massive louvers to vent scorching engine heat. The wheel arches were flared out to cover wide, slick tires, and a towering rear wing was bolted to the trunk lid. Matched with a 6-speed sequential transmission that slammed gears with the violence of a sledgehammer, the M3 GTR was ready. There was just one tiny detail BMW conveniently glossed over: the homologation rules. Under the 2001 ALMS regulations, a manufacturer was technically allowed to race a prototype engine, provided they promised to sell a small production run of road-going versions to the public within the calendar year. How many? Just 10 units. A laughable, microscopic number. BMW looked at the rulebook, smiled, nodded, and essentially whispered, "Yeah, sure, we'll build them later." And so in 2001, BMW unleashed the M3 GTR onto the track. What followed wasn't just a championship run, it was an absolute massacre. The season started at the 12 Hours of Sebring. While early teething issues plagued the brand new V8 beast, it didn't take long for Schnitzer Motorsport to dial the machine in. Once the suspension was sorted and the P60 V8 was singing, the M3 GTR went on a rampage. Out of 10 races in the 2001 ALMS season, the M3 GTR took 7 victories. It claimed 6 pole positions. Jörg Müller won the Drivers' Championship, Schnitzer won the Team Championship, and BMW snatched the manufacturer's crown right out of Porsche's trembling hands. Porsche was utterly humiliated, but more than that, they were furious. Porsche's engineers had played by the rules, building thousands of GT3 road cars to satisfy homologation. They looked over at BMW's paddock and said, "Hey, where are these 10 road-going V8 M3s you promised to sell to the public?" The answer was nowhere. BMW hadn't sold a single one. Under immense pressure from rival teams and an enraged Porsche legal division, BMW was forced to scramble. They had to prove the road-going M3 GTR existed. And so, late in 2001, BMW presented the M3 GTR Strassen version, literally the street version. German naming precision at its finest. If you thought the race car was absurd, the Strassen version was an exercise in pure malicious compliance. BMW built roughly 10 examples, priced at an eye-watering €250,000 each. But BMW had zero intention of actually letting normal people buy them. To deter buyers, the car was stripped of almost all basic human comforts. No radio, no air conditioning, no back seats, and absolute minimal sound deadening. Inside, you were greeted by Spartan carbon fiber paneling and racing bucket seats. Under the hood sat a detuned version of the P60 V8, putting out around 380 horsepower. It retained the dry sump oil system, the aggressive top-mounted intake vents, and the rigid carbon fiber roof. It was, for all intents and purposes, a street-legal race car that idled like a tractor, rattled your fillings loose at low speeds, and smelled heavily of unburnt race fuel. To ensure nobody actually bought them to put miles on them, BMW kept most of the handful of produced units strictly within their own corporate vault. Porsche wasn't buying the charade. They lobbied the sanctioning bodies hard. They argued that building 10 bare-bones prototypes stored in a private garage in Munich did not constitute a production road car. For the 2002 season, the rulemakers delivered an ultimatum that effectively put a gun to BMW's head. If you want to race the V8 M3 GTR in 2002, you must produce and sell 100 road-going examples and 1,000 engine units. BMW looked at the massive cost of building 100 bespoke V8 road cars, looked at the rulemakers, and said, no. Rather than compromise the car or spend tens of millions mass-producing an exotic V8 M3, they packed up their tools, loaded the M3 GTRs onto the transporters, and left America with the championship trophy safely tucked under their arm. It was a mic drop moment for the history books. They came, they cheated the spirit of the rules, they obliterated Porsche, and they walked away before anyone could force them to play fair. The M3 GTR's story should have ended right there. A short, highly controversial 2-year flash in the pan buried deep inside motorsport archives. But fate had a very different, very digital plans for the Bavarian bully. Fast forward to November 2005. Electronic Arts releases a video game that would define an entire generation of automotive enthusiasts. Need for Speed Most Wanted. The opening cinematic fires up. The screen pulses to high-octane rock and electronic beats. You, the player, roll into the fictional city of Rockport. You aren't driving a Lambo, a Ferrari, or a tuner Supra. You are behind the wheel of a silver and blue painted BMW M3 GTR. With its unmistakable straight-cut gear whine drowning out the engine note, the gaming world was introduced to a machine that felt less like a car and more like a mythic weapon. The storyline was legendary. You race the villain, Razor, who sabotages your ride, steals your M3 GTR, and uses it to climb to the top of the blacklist. The entire campaign of the game was driven by one single burning motivation: getting your car back. The timing was pure magic. While the real-world race car was sitting quietly in BMW's historical collection, millions of kids and teenagers were banging rev limiters on their PlayStations, weaving through police roadblocks and hearing that intoxicating mechanical transmission whine at 3 a.m. in their bedrooms. The iconic blue and silver livery, designed by EA artist Michael Mann, turned the M3 GTR from a controversial racing footnote into an international cultural icon. Ask any car enthusiast under the age of 40 today to name the most famous racing car in video game history, and 9 times out of 10, they won't say a GTR or a Skyline. They will say the most wanted M3. And while the gaming world was falling in love with its virtual avatar, the real M3 GTR wasn't completely finished with the physical world just yet. After leaving America, BMW re-entered the car in European endurance racing, specifically targeting the ultimate proving ground, the Nürburgring 24 Hours. The legendary Green Hell, over 15 miles of brutal, undulating tarmac cut through the Eifel Mountains. It was the same location where Mercedes had stripped their silver paint back in 1934. Against all odds, the M3 GTR adapted seamlessly to the unforgiving Nordschleife. Running in the E1XP class, the Schnitzer team fielded the V8 Beast against the world's most hardened endurance teams. In 2004, the M3 GTR took an incredible 1-2 overall finish at the Nürburgring 24 Hours. And just to prove it wasn't a fluke, they returned in 2005 and did it again, securing back-to-back victories at the hardest track on Earth. It was the ultimate redemption arc. The car that was deemed illegal in North America had proven its sheer engineering brilliance on the most terrifying racetrack in existence. It wasn't just a loophole on wheels, it was a champion. Today, the E46 BMW M3 GTR occupies a holy space in car culture. It sits right alongside the McLaren F1 GTR and the Porsche 911 GT1 as a monument to a wild, unhinged era when car manufacturers were insane enough to break the rules just to feel the thrill of victory.